Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Merry Christmas. This is the Rams Talk Christmas edition Seattle Seahawks game preview combination. First of all, I want to get a shout out to my wife who is letting me do this on Christmas. I think she's just so worked from cooking and everything, and she's just comatose on the couch. So does she even know? I don't know, but I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. I had duck, I had potato, dumpling, and red cabbage. What did you have for dinner? Please take me wherever you are because I'm still hungry and I want to know. But I hope everyone's doing well, everyone is safe, and getting ready for this game. I know there are a lot of NBA games on tonight or today, but I'm focused on the Rams game this Sunday because I know the Jets game left a bad taste in our mouth, and maybe we're feeling a little less confident than usual. But I feel pretty confident in the Rams' ability to bounce back from a loss. They haven't lost 2 consecutive games this year, just as much as they haven't won 3 consecutive games. They haven't lost 2 consecutive games, and every time they've had a bad game, whether it's against both San Francisco games or the Miami game or the Bills game, they come back the next week and they play well. They kind of fix the mistakes that they had in the previous game. So I think that they're geared up and ready for this game. If you're watching this video for the very first time, please hit that subscribe button, like the video. It's a great way to support the channel. And for everyone that has left comments on the previous video, the Jets one, and all the other videos, thank you very much for all of your support. I love reading it all. Thank you so much. And if you want to follow me on the other social channels, links are in the description. So yeah, let's get into it. Seattle owns the series 24-21 all time. They were 24-20 going into the season. Rams won the first game, and here we are, 24-21 all time. The Rams are 5-1 in their last 6 games against Seattle, so we do have Seattle's number. Sean McVay, even though Pete Carroll is older than Sean McVay is Pete Carroll's daddy. It's that simple. Doesn't matter how much gum Pete Carroll chews. That's just how it is. The NFC West title is on the line, and I know right now if the playoffs were to start today, we would have Washington football team, first round playoff game in Washington, as they're the NFC East winner. We're the first team outside of the division winners. So we would head to Washington to play them. If we were Seattle, I think we would play Tampa Bay. So if we were in the 3 spot, we'd play Tampa Bay. I would much rather play Washington. I know their defense is playing really well, but their offense is absolutely atrocious, especially if Dwayne Haskins is playing, but Alex Smith should be back at some point. Anyway, that being said, I just want to make the playoffs, and I want to beat Seattle. So let's win this game, and But I mean, even if we had beaten the Jets and we were 10-4, and the Seahawks were 10-4, it would still come down to this game. Granted, we'd be locked into the playoffs, but the NFC West title does hinge on this game. We can't win the NFC title unless we win this game coming up. Now, Seattle's a different team than the Seattle team we played in November. Their offensive line should be fully healthy with Brandon Shell, the right tackle. He's kind of questionable, but if he plays, their offensive line is healthy. All their receivers are in. Greg Olsen, I think, might be back. Their running backs are all back, except for DJ Dallas and the other guy that played in the last game. They're not back, but Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Rashad Penny's back from the PUP list. So really, their depth chart at running back is fully healthy and ready to go. So offensively, they're a completely different team. And their running backs last week against Washington, a pretty good defense, had 26 carries, 181 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry. So, yeah, that's one thing we didn't have to worry about. Granted, the first possession against Seattle, they drove down the field, and I just can't remember the running back that they had back then. But he was, they were using motion, and it was all pretty crazy. Alex Collins. But after that, we tightened up the ship, and they didn't score another touchdown the rest of the game. I think that'll be different this time around, even though our defense is pretty stout. I think the fact that they will have a three-headed monster at running back that they can rotate in, better players at that position, they're going to run the ball more than they did in that game. Last time, even though they had 113 yards, they actually outgained us on the ground in that last game. We had 106 yards on the ground. But, like I said, it's a completely different team. Shaquille Griffin is back, so... they're going into that game. Their secondary had been kind of decimated by injury, and they were like one of the worst secondaries in all of football. But Shaquille Griffin's back. DJ Reed, he played in that game. He led Seattle in tackles. Now he's kind of settled into that cornerback slot opposite of Shaquille. So and he's really played very well. Quentin Dunbar is, I think, out for the season with the knee surgery. Trey Flowers is coming back. But DJ Reed has outperformed him, and so those are the two guys on the outside. Anyways, their center is back from the injury he had in that first game. In terms of the Rams injuries, as you know, Cam Akers is out at least this week, possibly against Arizona as well with a high ankle sprain. I mean, how crazy is it that he had a high ankle sprain, what was that, in the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and he played the rest of the game with a high ankle sprain, and it just pisses me off even more with those holding calls against Higbee and Corbett because, he scores a touchdown. I mean, it's just more wear and tear he put on that ankle, and touchdowns and all these things, and it didn't count. Havenstein is limited practice this week so far as of yesterday. He has a shoulder injury, so hopefully he's good to go. He's going to be going against Carlos Dunlap, so that's a tall task for him, but he can do it. Terrell Lewis, maybe. I mean, the Terrell Lewis kind of news has been here and there. I mean, I don't really know what's going on with his knee. It's just, I guess, an ongoing knee mitigation, and we know all about this, going back to Todd Gurley. Quick side note, Todd Gurley. Man, that guy is cooked, and I like Todd Gurley, but he's done. He is so done, and, the Rams moved on from him. Imagine if they kept him this year. Just all of the headache. Last year, Sean McVay kind of knew it, and he was just trying to get through the season with it. And, man, I started him in fantasy last week. One carry, -1 yard. He had 2 receptions, nothing. He's not the starting running back in Atlanta anymore. That's sad. Anyways, Nick Scott should be back. Thank heavens Nick Scott is back. Had no idea what kind of impact he had until he was missing. You don't know what you have until it's gone. But anyways, like I said, Seattle's a much different team. They've won 4 of their last 5 games, with one of those losses coming to the New York Giants. And just as much as we Rams fans melt down whenever we lose, when we lose to Miami, who's actually a good team, we melt down. When we lose to the Bills, melt down. When we lose to the Niners, melt down. I mean, I get it. There are reasons for that. When we lose to the Jets, obvious meltdown. But, I mean, the Seahawks lost to the Giants, and the Giants are a good team. But, I mean, come on, imagine if we lost to the Giants. So every team has a wart or two. And I'm going to go into Russell Wilson and his warts this season just to kind of put things into perspective with Jared Goff. If Russell Wilson had never won a Super Bowl, would he have the leeway he has? He still would. He's a better quarterback. But anyways, the Seahawks, like I said, are a much different team. The team health is there for the most part, and they're trending in the right direction in terms of winning week over week. Their defense has allowed less than 20 points in those last 4 games, 2+ sacks in 8 games. And just to let you know, Goff versus the Jets, he was sacked 3 times, had 8 QB hits, and last time against Seattle, he was sacked 3 times and was hit 4 times. So yeah, that's kind of how the Seahawks are trending. Of course, they had that 40-3 win against the Jets a couple of weeks ago, and the Rams are just kind of like this, like a roller coaster, right? And typically the roller coaster goes, and I saw this on Good Morning Football by Peter Schrager. It's a great analogy, but it's the Goff roller coaster. So last week was kind of one of these in a way, and hopefully he's back up at the top against Seattle. Like I said, the Rams haven't lost 2 in a row this season, and they always bounce back. Goff usually fixes the mistakes. And, last week he threw for 302 yards, against, wait, what is this? 302 yards? I don't know where that came from. Was that last week? oh my gosh, I don't know. I wrote these notes yesterday. But anyways, in terms of Goff, there's been a lot of back and forth with Goff. And I think if I could really kind of sum it all up with him, and I think, everyone wants to get the mobile quarterback. The mobile quarterback is the hot thing. And I get it. You want a quarterback that can extend a play. Who wouldn't want a quarterback that can extend a play? I totally get it. But if you switch Goff out, I feel like the whole Rams offense, unless it's John Wolford, someone who's in the offense, but if you bring in a new quarterback that might have different traits and different skill sets, the offense has to change. So Goff is kind of plugged into an offense. Like I said, he's the conductor of a symphony. And when he's off, the whole thing is off. But if they bring in a different conductor, then they have to maybe play different music. And so I just would be a little quick on that one. And last week was not a terrible week by Goff. Okay? The problem with Goff is the regression. It's two things. It's the regression. He's regressed from 2017 and 2018. In 2019 and this year, he has regressed. Three things. So he just doesn't look confident. He's not throwing the ball, the deep ball. He's not really hitting the receivers like he used to. He's turning the ball over way more than he did in those first 2 years, or his real first 2 years. So he's regressed. He's a turnover machine, and I feel the offense right now is built around how much McVay does not trust him. 3rd and longs, they throw screens. He wants to play it safe because he has faith in the defense. He doesn't have faith in Goff. He's like, you know what, Goff? I don't want you to turn the ball over, so we're going to run the ball or throw a screen. And so Goff is now put in this situation by Sean McVay where it's obvious that Sean McVay does not trust him to make a throw when it's 3rd and long. He doesn't, unless it's really game on the line type of situation and there's no other choice. But if it's a tie game or the Rams are up, they just take the risk out of Goff's hands and try and get the ball back after a defensive stop. So anyways, I think it's the regression, it's the turnovers, and it's the lack of faith. We're tied to him for 2 more years, so just slow your roll. We have him, and he played well last time against the Seahawks. Let's see, it was last game against the Seahawks, 302 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, with a 96.9 passer rating. And no one had a problem with him in that game. That was when Malcolm Brown scored 2 touchdowns. Darrell Henderson had a touchdown. No one came out of that game going, he didn't throw touchdowns, right? Or he didn't throw the deep ball. They're like, Goff played a very efficient and solid 302 yards. No turnovers. Like, I'll take that. You would take that. If Goff throws for 302 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, you'll take that in this game. Because odds are that probably means the Rams win the game. Anyways, I just had to get that in there with Goff. But also, Wilson, last week against Washington football team, 121 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception with a 73 passer rating. So, it's not like Wilson's lighting the world on fire. When they played against the Rams last time, 248 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And so, that's 2 weeks or 2 times in a row at least where he's faced really good defenses and secondaries and not played well. So I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be very prolific in this game, but also Russell Wilson had a bad game against the Giants. He's had some other stinkers this year. Against the Cardinals, he had one. It happens, people. Not every quarterback makes every pass. Not every receiver has 100-yard games. Not every running back has a 100-yard game. Not every defensive lineman has a sack. Patience. Anyways, I expect in this game, to see a lot of 12 personnel. And I know Seattle has a really good run defense, but I feel like the 12 personnel, the fact that the Rams didn't go to it soon enough in the Jets game, when they did, the light came on. When they did against the Patriots, the light came on. Last year with 12 personnel, the light came on. I feel if you want to protect Goff, and you want to just, you want to use the tight ends more in passing plays. When they did this last year, Higbee came alive. Everett was nursing an injury, but now you have Everett. Use those guys to block, use those guys to run routes. Let's see big games out of Everett and Higbee. Like that's okay, but I feel like having an extra blocker, especially when you're going to have blitzing from Jamal Adams, that's really going to be the key. And one interesting thing that Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic, and I can't remember who it was, also of The Athletic, could have been Ted Wynn, but they broke down Jared Goff under pressure. You know how the narrative is, when he's under pressure, he completely folds. And that actually is not 100% accurate. So yes, we all have the Miami game seared into our brains about how he did not play well under pressure, and I mean, no disputing that. It's not like he's perfect against pressure, but he has actually been worse against four-man rush than he has been against pressure. And the reason why is because there's plenty of defenders in coverage, and he has a harder time making the reads and going through progressions and trusting receivers to be open and throwing it to where receivers can be open. And that's where he has really had his issues, is when it's a four-man rush as opposed to blitz. Ever since that Miami game, they played a couple teams that were blitzing a lot, Seahawks in particular, last time they played, and Jamal Adams came in and did okay. I think he might have had a sack, or he had that strip sack. But for the most part, I think when he knows the blitz is coming, he switches to outlet. And it's an easier throw. It's a small throw, or he knows where it's going to be. So I think if they're going to continue the blitz, which the Seahawks really do, I think that Goff will be okay. But the four-man front, very interesting, or the four-man rush, that is where he's had his problems. Now, if I'm Seattle and I'm playing, I'm game planning for the Rams, what I'm doing in this game is I'm going to test the edges of the Rams. I'm going to test Reeder and Kenny Young going sideline to sideline. Now we have Nick Scott back as an extra safety to help with that outside speed. But we've seen teams that are effective against the Rams, like the 49ers, until the Rams made some adjustments. Even the Jets in that opening drive, it was the Rams lacked communication and speed on the outside. So if I'm the Seahawks, I'm using my running backs. I'm even throwing it, checking down and throwing it, throwing screens. Maybe not so much screens, but I'm running it to the outside. I'm throwing it to the outside quickly. I'm also going to try and get DK Metcalf the ball. I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a mission for them. It's not going to be acceptable that he only had a couple catches. Those two catches came against zone coverage last time, but I would expect maybe even bubble screens and quick slants just to get the ball in DK Metcalf's hands. It's not just going to always be DK, you just go burn it down against Jalen Ramsey, and Russell Wilson will try and lob it up. Maybe, I think they'll try some of those as well, but I think you're going to see more shots at DK. It's not going to be this don't be afraid of DK Metcalf or Jalen Ramsey situation. Maybe they even try and put him in motion and rub Jalen Ramsey off of DK. That might be something, but I think we're going to see a more concerted effort to get DK Metcalf the ball. They're going to run the ball, because last game when they played, their running attack was really not strong, and I think they're really going to try and emphasize that. I mean, when I said that they had 113 yards in that game, Russell Wilson had 60 yards rushing, right? So you take him off of that, that's 53 yards rushing from the running backs. Their identity really up until the season has been a running team. So I feel like that's what we're going to see. We're going to see them running the ball, attempting to run the ball a lot more. And why wouldn't they, with Carson and Penny and Hyde back in the game? I think they're also really going to try and clamp down on the Rams' running game and make the Rams one-dimensional and have Jared Goff beat them. And now that Cam Akers is not in the game, it's going to be the Hendo and the Brown show. And, Rams won games with Hendo and Brown. Hendo ran over 100 yards this season, so when Cam Akers was out for like 2 or 3 games with a rib injury. So they can do it. Malcolm Brown is definitely capable. He catches out of the backfield. Hendo catches out of the backfield. So even though Cam Akers isn't in there and it's not ideal, I still like Hendo and I still like Malcolm Brown. And I'm interested to see if it's Xavier Jones will be active. He should be, as a third string running back in this game, in case Hendo gets a nick or a bruise, because it seems like every game he gets a little banged up. So, but I see them trying to really stop the run game for the Rams, make them one-dimensional, really make that play action, like neuter that play action. And like I said, make Goff make throws. Okay, so That's really the key for success, because, if Goff is the one winning the game from the Rams, I think Seattle will live with that, right? So I think that's really what's going to come down. Like I said, it's going to be fun. Jalen versus DK, round 2. Jalen's really been a silent assassin for us this year, because he's not mouthing off like he used to be when he was young. He's not talking trash. He's not getting thrown at, so he doesn't have the sexy interception numbers, but you look at the guys that he guards, he shuts them down, right? So it's kind of like the silent ones, it's always the quiet ones. D. Will versus Lockett. D. Will in that last game had 2 interceptions. He played phenomenally. He had that pass breakup in the end zone. So I think also if you remove, if the Rams secondary really takes the Seahawks out of this game, then that's going to be massive. And then also Troy Reader versus Chris Carson or Rashad Penny or Carlos Hyde. Troy Reader, I think if he can be more of the run-stopping guy, then I think that suits him a lot better than being the coverage sideline-to-sideline guy. So that's going to be a key matchup for me. Now also, Aaron Donald dominates Seattle. He, in 12 or 13 games, he has 12 sacks, 33 QB hits, and 19 tackles for a loss. However, in the last meeting, zeros. 0 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 tackle for loss. I think he had some pressures. Russell Wilson, he was dragging Russell Wilson down, and Russell Wilson just threw it. So, he almost had a sack right there, but he didn't really, he affected the game for sure, but he didn't show up on the stat sheet in the last game. So I expect him to kind of break through and have a good game this game, because, it is Aaron Donald after all. Leonard Floyd went off, had 3 sacks in that game. So I want to say Terrell Lewis had a couple sacks, and Michael Brockers had a sack in that game. So yeah, the Rams really have their hands full here, and I expect the defensive line to play outstanding. I think the secondary really will. I'm not too worried about the defense. I think everyone out there agrees this is what the Rams. It's crazy how in a year or two how it's turned to the Rams offense being a little bit stagnant, and the Rams defense, up until that Jets game, they had scored a touchdown in 3 consecutive games, making the final score look like the offense was putting up an extra touchdown when it wasn't. So the offense has not been prolific at all, and I think the Rams need to score between 20 and 30 points in this game. If they don't, they're going to lose. This game, to me, can go either way. I think the Rams will win it, but I'm very skeptical. And it really is, Jared Goff needs to bounce back. The offensive line, the Rams offensive line, really needs to play with some fire and some grit and some toughness in this game and really start shoving guys around, because the Seahawks are going to be bringing it. So keys to the game, Goff and turnovers. If Goff doesn't turn the ball over, I'm very confident that the Rams will win this game. Goff to Cooper Kupp. You notice I haven't mentioned Cooper Kupp's name. Cooper Kupp is going up against Ugo Amadi, who's their slot corner. He's playing decent, but he's not great. Every time I feel like Cooper Kupp's going to go off because he's playing an inferior slot defender, I'm always, like in the game, the last game that they played, 5 catches, 50 yards, and that was when their secondary was even worse. So Goff to Kupp needs to be happening in this game. It really needs to be happening. So he needs to get Kupp the ball early and often. Run the ball. I know Seattle is 3rd in the NFL in terms of rushing defense per game, yards allowed per game at 94.6. The Rams are 2nd with like 93 yards. So Rams running defense, rush defense, Seattle's rush defense pretty much neck and neck this year. I think that the Rams do need to do what they did last game. They got over 100 yards, and they just need to continue to pound the ball, get it into the end zone. They got it into the end zone 3 times on the ground. So if they can at least replicate that, then I'm okay. But they need to have some balance. It can't just turn into the Goff passing show. They need to contain DK, Lockett, and more. Easier said than done, but we do have some studs on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary. We need to get home to Wilson. We sacked him 6 times in that last game, so I don't expect 6 sacks in this next game, but we always play pretty well against Russell Wilson. So I think that will be a key in this one. Special teams. I haven't talked about special teams, and I totally forgot about it in the last video, but remember when Simba Webster finally broke a run and he ran right into the punter? Like, people talk about penalties and this and that and this and that and the block punt. But the fact that Noah Simba Webster had only the punter to beat and he took the angle directly into the punter, unbelievable. I think Simba Webster's like, oh my gosh, I've never run this far on a punt return or a kick return. What do I do? Boom, punter hits him. Anyways, the Seahawks have a really good special teams unit, especially their kicker and their punter are top of the line. So the Rams, we have a great punter. Nick Scott is back. It's our punt and kick coverage. And can Matt Gay continue to step up? So that's going to be an issue. And also halftime lead. If the Rams are leading at halftime, I will have a sigh of relief. Although Russell Wilson kind of has that Russell Wilson magic, he always comes back. But if the Rams are at least leading at halftime, there is that stat. The stats, at one point in time it will be broken. I'm not going to jinx it now. I'm going to find some wood and knock on it. But I think it's just key to not be playing from behind always. And all the losses that we have, we're always playing from behind. Seems going into halftime. So there you go. That's a mouthful on Christmas. A lot of mouthfuls on Christmas. Anyways, Daryl Henderson, you can start the music. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Watch another video. Enjoy your Christmas. Be safe. And someone told me once, the most important things in life aren't things. They're the wins over Seahawks. You know what? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas, and as always, go Rams. Christmas Catch Part 2. What are you going to do about that?